Well, hi, and welcome to the MegaCast by Actual Tech Media. Our topic today is streamlining, securing, and protecting cloud IT and business operations. My name is Jess Steinbach, and I'm so excited to be here with you all today for this very important discussion because today we're talking cloud, and we all know that that is a big topic. Now, some of you might have decided to join us today because you wanted to increase your organization's agility and flexibility. Maybe you have big plans to grow in the future and you're more interested in learning about scalability. Possibly your big concern these days is centered more around protection, security, and resiliency. And hey, maybe the to-do list for you includes researching all of the above. Wherever you're at in your cloud journey, you're here today to learn more about how to enhance your organization's cloud IT environment and streamline your business operations, which, as we know, is no small task. Luckily, today we're going to be joined by top innovators from Better Cloud, Gigamon, Rubrik, and OutSystems. These awesome experts are here today to talk to us about the tools and technologies that you need in order to level up your organization's cloud infrastructure and reach those exciting business goals. Now, if you haven't joined us for a MegaCast in the past, I want to say a very special welcome to all the first timers out there. Actual Tech Media created the MegaCast and the EcoCast series to help educate technology professionals just like you on the latest innovations and trends in enterprise technology. These webinars are designed to get you the hottest insights and up-to-date information to help you solve your most pressing technology challenges. Now, before we jump in, I want to run through just a few housekeeping things that are going to help you get the most out of the MegaCast today. Of course, now we do have some awesome prizes lined up for you. So if your eyes went right to that prize icon, I get it, but hang tight. We're going to come back to those in just a moment. But first, I actually want to draw your attention over to the questions box inside your webinar control panel. If you haven't already done so, we love seeing all you awesome folks connecting from around the world. So give us a hello, a hi, and a virtual wave. Say hi to everyone else out there in the community today. Now, the questions console is also the place to let us know if there are any technical issues that come up. The Actual Tech Media team is there to help. I do want to remind you, though, that a browser refresh is going to clear out any of the usual little bugs. But if it's not working for you, just shoot us a message there and we'll hop in and help you out there. Now, most importantly, though, we want this to be an informative webinar, an informative conversation. And that means that we really want to see all of your technical questions. So throughout the MegaCast today, we hope you'll get engaged, get involved, make comments, discussion points, add questions in there, whatever burning cloud questions and thoughts you have, we want to hear from you. Now, if we don't get a chance to ask your question live during our Q&A sessions after each presentation, don't worry about that because the awesome humans from Better Cloud, from Gigamon, from Rubrik, and OutSystems are going to be following up with you afterwards. All right, now the next thing I want to point out on your audience console there is that little Twitter button. So when you have one of those kind of cool little brain tickly lighty up moments today on the MegaCast and you want to share that with your friends, just click right there on the Twitter button and the hashtag from today's MegaCast is going to be automatically added to your post so you can share the good news, the cloud gospel with all your friends and family members. And hey, while you're exploring that audience console, I also want to make sure that I point out the handouts tab. Now, you're going to find some really fantastic resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an absolutely info-packed collection of data sheets, demos, ebooks, and more. So click around in that handout section and download some of those awesome resources. If I haven't met you yet, my name is Jess Steinbach. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I am so excited to be one of your moderators for this webinar today. I'm also going to be joined by my friends and fellow moderators, Scott Becker and David Davis. They'll be here in just a moment. Now, before we get into our exciting sessions, I said that I would come back around to those prizes. So let's jump in. Who doesn't love talking about prizes? On today's MegaCast, you have a chance to win one of 5 Apple iPhone 14 Pros. And that is not even including the $500 Amazon gift card that we will be giving away every 30 minutes. Now, of course, you must be in attendance here live at the MegaCast in order to qualify to win, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you're not sure what those are, don't worry about that. We have the full T's and C's for you in that handouts tab. So just click on over to the handouts tab, scroll on down to the bottom, you'll find the full things waiting for you there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we love seeing all of your insightful questions during these webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we have a special additional prize for all of you out there. So during the MegaCast today, we will be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card to the best question asked in each of our live sessions. The team is going to review all the questions asked after we wrap, which means that, again, even if we don't get to your question during our live Q&A sessions, there's still a chance to win. So make sure you get those questions in because, hey, it makes the whole thing that much more fun and engaging for all of us. And also, you could win that $50 Amazon gift card. I've got a few reminders up here on the screen for you today, including the fact that all grand prize winners are required to submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media. All right, if you are a winner here today, you always have the option to donate the value of the prize to one of our selected charities. Thanks to generous prize winners on previous Actual Tech Media webinar, thousands of dollars have been donated to these charities. So if you are a winner here today and you want to get involved with one of these amazing organizations, please do let us know because we would absolutely love to help make that happen. Now, again, we're thrilled to have you here at the live webinar here with us today, and we want to keep that good feeling going. So make sure that you connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and Facebook. We definitely want to hear from you. I also am going to highly recommend that you head on over to the YouTube channel, Actual Tech Media's YouTube channel, and check out some of our on-demand content there. All of these incredible webinars and resources just waiting for you on just about any topic that you're interested in. So please do go and check that out after we wrap today. I also recommend that you check us out on LinkedIn. Make sure to follow and connect there. Lots of great resources for you. Now, speaking of great resources, if you have not already started reading the Actual Tech Media Guerrilla Guide Book Club, please do that today. I promise you, you won't regret it. There are some incredible resources there for you. And the Guerrilla Guide Book Club gives you access to free enterprise IT books that are authored by top industry experts. So you get to stay up to date on all the trending enterprise technologies, all the new solutions that are coming out. And it's a lot. It can be very overwhelming. So get all the resources you need in one place there. The books are going to work on your Kindle, they'll work on your mobile device, and hey, they're totally free. So that's all good things. So head on over to guerrilla.guide and check out some of those resources. Now, we want to keep growing this incredible community. We love getting to know all of you week over week, and we want to include more of your friends and coworkers in that community as well. So one last way to win a fun prize is to refer that industry friend or coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. There's a link to do that right there in your handouts tab, and you're actually going to get redirected at the end of the webinar as well. So we make it nice and easy for you. I do want to promise you that we're not going to spam your friends and coworkers. I know that's always a concern. We send them an invite to a list of upcoming webinars, and if they don't respond, they just get one more little reminder. Life gets busy. We just want to make sure they saw it. And then that's it. That's all they'll get from us. And both you and your coworker are entered to win a $300 Amazon gift card. We hold those drawings every month. So there's a good chance to win that. Make sure you get those referrals in. Okay, well, that's it for webinar housekeeping. I think it's time we get into our sessions here. And to kick us off today, I'm so excited to tag in my awesome friend and fellow moderator. You all know him already, David Davis. David is in the wings with our expert keynote speaker today, and I know this conversation is going to be great. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand the mic on over to David and our expert speaker, Elias Kneser. David, thank you so much for being here with us today. The platform is all yours.
Excited to be joined now by Mr. Elias Kneser, Chief of Research at EK Media Group. Eli, it's great to have you back on. How you doing, my friend?
David, it's always great to be with you.
Well, you know, this is an exciting topic. This is right in your wheelhouse. I know you have tons of industry experience in the world of cloud and hybrid cloud and multi-cloud. And, you know, so let's just start off by talking about what are the top challenges that you're seeing out there that companies are facing when it comes to cloud?
Yeah, great question. And thanks for having me. So cloud, the cloud challenges are also, they're different depending on the region and the geography where you are in the world. Like some of the challenges that we have in North America are going to be very different than those that are in Europe and in Asia Pacific, etc. So for instance, in Europe, there's a lot of challenges around data residency and sovereignty. In the US, we have challenges around skills. So actually, that might be a worldwide phenomenon where, you know, access to the right skill sets is scarce. It's difficult. So all of those things are slowing down cloud projects. Integration and automation is another challenge that a lot of organizations are finding. You mentioned multi-cloud, because we're in a world where it's essentially a permanent multi-cloud world. It's connecting, having your AWSs, your Azures, your Googles, your Oracles, potentially having multiple SaaS providers. How are you going to integrate all of them? How are you going to automate the process? How are you going to do identity and access management across all of them? How are you going to do backup and monitoring across all of them? Those are all of the challenges that organizations are facing today. Is how do I bring all of this together? How do I manage and monitor this very diverse environment, this very diverse ecosystem that they've built? But the challenges really are multifaceted. Again, in Europe, they're having data residency. The cloud providers are having challenges with data residency there because every country essentially wants a cloud presence within its borders. So that creates a little bit of a challenge there. Asia Pacific, you have different sets of challenges. But in general, I would say cloud projects are moving forward, but I think they're moving forward at a slower pace than I think everyone would like.
Very interesting. And you mentioned cloud skills. I know Pluralsight just released a big survey, all about how that was a big factor in companies, either not moving to cloud or having trouble with cloud migrations, is just their employees didn't have the skills. And I know we'll be talking about your Pluralsight courses and other courses coming up here related to cloud, where companies can hopefully improve their skills, get the skills they need. But first, what are companies not doing that they should be doing?
Yeah, so I think companies aren't investing enough in training. And when they are investing in training, they're investing in it in terms of, well, here's some budget, go take some training. Where training needs to become more of a strategic project, a strategic approach to organizations, because it's the training that's going to get them out of kind of where they're at. It's going to get them out of the slowness of the cloud projects or other projects that they're working on. So training has to become more of a focus rather than we have budget, go take training. It needs to have more oversight where you're able to hold folks accountable for, hey, you took a training, you took a certification. Let's see what you've really learned. Give them exercises, give them things that they can use to demonstrate the skills that they've learned. So I think that one is crucial. I also think there's just a lot going on, and organizations need to be able to focus. Today we're dealing with public cloud in a variety of approaches, right? You've got single cloud provider, you've got multi-cloud, you've got hybrid cloud. That's all the hype right now, and everything that's going on around it. You've got the edge. You've got a lot of things happening, and they're all happening at the same time. So it's a matter of prioritization. And I don't think a lot of organizations are putting together an end-to-end strategy that looks at this holistically and says, this is how we're going to tackle all of these things in a methodical and structured manner. Instead, what they're doing is they're doing a little bit of edge, a little bit of cloud, a little bit of data center. So they're dabbling into all of these things, but they're not strategically approaching all of them. And I think that's a huge mistake.
Yeah, great, wise advice there. I mean, I even think of, companies where someone just wants to learn cloud. Like, where do you start with that? Okay, well, let's pick one cloud, like AWS. Okay, well, where do you start with that? There's like 472 or whatever it is, different AWS services. It's a huge marshmallow to try to bite off. What's your take on hybrid cloud and multi-cloud?
That's a great question. So hybrid cloud is interesting. Actually, hybrid cloud is super interesting. So hybrid cloud has gone through a couple of different phases. A few years ago, hybrid cloud was a way for traditional IT to hang on to their data center, right? Because they were getting so much pressure from, hey, are you adopting cloud? Are you adopting cloud? Everyone took the position of, well, we're going to be hybrid cloud. That was a way of saying, we're going to keep our on-premises data center. We're going to continue to do whatever we're doing. And yeah, we're going to do something in the public cloud. Then that shifted to the public cloud providers that started to advertise hybrid cloud, but they were advertising it in the form of a Trojan horse. They wanted it as an on-ramp to get everyone onto the public cloud. I think today we're in a really good place because I think organizations and providers have come to the realization that we really need a good form of hybrid cloud. And what you're seeing today from organizations like AWS and Azure and Google and Oracle and others that have real solutions. AWS Outpost, where you can bring some AWS services on premises. You've got AWS local zones that create zones within closer proximity to users to offer low latency, high bandwidth capabilities for those applications that require them. You've got AWS Wavelength, where it puts essentially an outpost in telco towers, again, bringing the applications closer to the users. You've got Microsoft that's got a big portfolio around hybrid, whether it's Azure Stack or Arc or a bunch of other things that they have capabilities around. You've got Google with distributed cloud that's doing a ton of things there. There's Oracle Cloud at Customer that's also bringing Oracle services on premises. So you get the feeling, you get the sense that there is a true effort in pushing hybrid cloud. But there's also a lot of confusion around the term hybrid itself. So people will use hybrid cloud interchangeably to mean a bunch of things. Hybrid cloud has to be some like for like capability. You can't just have like VMware on premises and AWS and say, I've got a hybrid cloud. You're managing these things differently. Now you could have VMware cloud on AWS and VMware on premises. Now you've created some form of uniformity where you can manage them. But hybrid cloud has to be some form of like for like. When you look at multi-cloud is also becoming default, right? You cannot talk to a customer today that doesn't have at least 2 cloud providers. In some cases, they'll have 3 cloud providers. So it's AWS, Azure, and Google, and whatever mix of those you want. And in a lot of cases, it's Oracle. Microsoft has a strategic relationship with Oracle, for example, where they're interconnecting their regions. So you can have a Microsoft region connected to an Oracle region with high bandwidth, low latency, where you keep all of your Oracle workloads, Exadata and others on the Oracle cloud infrastructure, but then you're using everything else on Microsoft. And when you look at that, well, you sort of have the best of breed, right? You've got Microsoft for what it's good for. You've got Oracle for what it's good for. Bada bing, bada boom, you end up winning. So there's a lot of that. The challenges with all of these things is how are we going to manage them? How are we going to govern them? Those are some of the things that get taken for granted. And you asked about challenges in the beginning. I would put those in the integration, and governance is probably the biggest challenge. Are you going to use the native tools? There's great native tools from all the cloud providers. Are you going to use third-party tools? 3 years ago, I'd have told you maybe you should, use native tools first. Today, multi-cloud's a default. I'm leaning more towards third-party tools that allow you to manage multiple environments at the same time with a single pane of glass, although the features aren't always the same for all clouds, but at least you have that uniformity that you're able to manage from. So multi-cloud is definitely a reality for those that aren't using multi-cloud or don't plan on being multi-cloud anytime soon. My best advice to you is plan on being multi-cloud, even if you're not multi-cloud today, because you can base all of your multi-cloud decisions today expecting it to happen later. So if you're going to go buy a backup tool, make sure that backup tool is compatible with your current cloud provider and your potential cloud provider. And the same thing for others. Otherwise, what will end up happening is at some point you are going to be a multi-cloud, whether it's by design or by force. All it will take is an acquisition by your organization, and voila, you are now multi-cloud. So then you'll have to invest in tools, you'll have to invest in training and in all sorts of things. So multi-cloud is a default, I would say, at this point.
Okay. And I know we're running out of time here. I do want to hear about what you've been up to lately, but first, one quick question, and that is, you mentioned third-party tools. I mean, I think it takes probably an ecosystem of tools, kind of like with an on-premises data center. You don't just install vSphere, you don't just install Windows Server. You've got a whole ecosystem of tools out there around it. What are your, top few ecosystem third-party tools that you would recommend for someone who's running multi-cloud? I mean, not specific, names of vendors, but types of tools.
Yeah, so I think you bring up an excellent point. So all of the tools that we were using on premises, I think all of them are still valid. We just have to make sure that either the current tools can support the cloud, or you have to replace them to make sure that you have tools that support both your on-premises and the cloud. But you still need backup tools, right? You need a backup tool that will be able to back up on premises, that will be able to back up your IaaS environment, your PaaS environment, and your SaaS environment. A lot of people take SaaS for granted. SaaS has to be backed up by you as well. And the same thing for monitoring. Cost optimization tools, I think, are incredibly important. If there's one tool, one place that I would recommend that you start with tools, it would be cost optimization. Those tools are super valuable. They'll be able to save you money, optimize the performance. So I think that's a great place. Governance and management tools, I think those are super important, in automation. So whether you're using things like Puppet or Chef or Ansible or any of these tools, I think those will also be super important to be able to again, manage these environments as much as possible from a place of uniformity.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I know we're running out of time here on this. I want to first or finally ask you, what have you been up to lately? What should people know about Elias Knaser? Tell us about your new projects coming up.
My friend, I have been busy. I've been building my YouTube channel. For those that like this type of content, it's at eKnaser on YouTube. Follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter, Instagram. I'm everywhere. But as far as projects are concerned, I'm doing a course with Pluralsight on the key differences between AWS, Azure, and Google from a resiliency perspective, networking perspective, compute, hybrid and multi-cloud perspective. It's going to be a fantastic course. I'm working on it now. I'm also working on a cloud strategy masterclass that will help you develop a cloud strategy. I'm taking that step by step, helping you build the actual document, build the adoption framework. Right now, that is tentatively for Udemy. I might publish it on Udemy. And I'm also writing a book on cloud strategy. So your friend is pretty busy for the next few months.
Awesome. Good for you. I mean, I've been keeping up to date with you via your YouTube channel. I watched videos that you published on IoT, on, being a Gartner analyst, all sorts of cool stuff. I really look forward to these courses comparing multiple clouds. That's something that you just can't find anywhere. I haven't seen it anywhere. So I look forward to that course. And then cloud strategy, of course, I'm going to take that one as well. So Elias, it's been a real pleasure chatting with you again, my friend. Thanks so much and take care.
I appreciate the opportunity. I'll see you soon.
David, Eli, thank you so much for that awesome keynote discussion. What a great way to kick off the MegaCast here today. If you enjoyed that as much as I did, and I know that you all did, there's no shortage of ways that you can learn a little bit more from Eli here. As he mentioned, master classes, there's some books, Pluralsight classes, and to make it even easier, we've actually linked Eli's YouTube channel right there in the handouts tab. So you can click on that link right there, open up the browser tab, and save to explore after we wrap up the MegaCast today. Now, as you can see, I've put a poll question up on the screen here, and we're just looking to get a little bit more information from you all on kind of the timeline that you'd be looking to take action on some of the things that you're going to be learning about today. So we're going to talk lots about cloud and cloud migration. So this is just giving us an idea of kind of where you're at. And we like to get a little bit of kind of, I guess, a bigger picture as to, are you just kind of starting your research journey? Are you looking, and maybe that's where the not sures are kind of coming from? Or are you really thinking that you want to make changes and take action right away? And this also helps us when we're kind of planning for content as well, making sure that we're hitting you in the right phase of your research journey. All right, well, thank you so much to everybody who answered that poll for us. And I don't know about you guys, but I am really excited to get into our sessions today. So let's jump in with our first session in the MegaCast. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce you all to our first two speakers and expert presenters on today's MegaCast. We're definitely starting out strong right out of the gate here. So here with us today, we've got Michael Connery, VP of Solutions and Value Engineering at Better Cloud. And he'll be joined towards the end. We're going to do a little Q&A also with Dennis Clark, Senior Product Marketing Manager, also at Better Cloud. Michael and Dennis, thank you both so much for being here to get us started today. Michael, I think you're going to kick things off, so I will hand the mic right on over to you.
So yes, I'm Mike Connery. I am Better Cloud's VP of Solutions and Value Engineering. And today we're going to talk a bit about zero-touch SaaS management and ultimately what Better Cloud brings to the market in this space. To start things off, we need to sort of set some context here. And where that context starts is ultimately with IT. And so what we've seen over the past 6 years is an explosion in SaaS applications, a 14x increase in terms of the number of SaaS apps deployed in a given organization. And what we've seen is that your average IT team is responsible for managing well over 100 applications. So on top of being a generally overworked, under-resourced, busy, putting out fires team, this growth in SaaS has been a continual force over the past few years, and we don't see that slowing down anytime soon. Now, that explosion obviously comes with its own challenges, in particular in these three areas, which we'll talk a little bit about. And so these are areas that now IT is being tasked with addressing, where when we think back 5-10 years ago, this was much less of a focus point. The first is on licensing spend. 80% of IT professionals say that budget is being wasted because they don't have a view into that ever-growing number of SaaS applications. When you think about managing this, IT is becoming an indispensable resource, where 78% of CIOs are saying that their leaders and teams have become much more involved in digital initiatives over the past year. So we're seeing this movement away from IT being like a back office function and really integrating themselves with the business. But again, with those SaaS applications continuing to increase, with that increase comes a growing security risk, where we're seeing something like 84% of executives have rated data governance as a top risk for their businesses. So that is something that is on the mind of basically every executive at any business out there, is how the growth of their companies, the growth of SaaS applications has grown their risk exposure. To sort of compound these trends and these challenges, really, to put a point on it, the solutions that have existed to this point in the market to help handle these trends of SaaS sprawl are not designed to do it. They were either designed with on-premise focus in mind, or solving little niche areas or different solutions. And ultimately, when trying to use these existing solutions in the market today to handle this sprawl, what we've seen is a negative impact on the experience and productivity of employees. People are waiting a long amount of time to get access to what they need to. They're having to chase down approvals. It slows down business. It's incredibly expensive as well for IT teams to set up and maintain these applications. There hasn't been really a blueprint on what is the best in class way to manage all of this, between business owners owning some apps, IT owning others, security owning others, and it's hard to get a grasp around all of those different applications, and that becomes very difficult too. And then, because of that lack of visibility, because of these siloed solutions and individual app admin consoles, the risk of exposure is huge, whether it's from an insider threat, and again, whether that's just improper credentials, sensitive data leaking, settings being set up incorrectly in some of these applications. All of these different risks require different tools or different places to look to find them, and then B, when you do actually find them, the process to remediate those risks is entirely manual. And so you're waiting minutes, hours, days, months to actually remediate some of this risk that comes with these SaaS applications. And so that's a problem. That is what our IT organizations are up against in today's world. And so in order to address this, ultimately a new solution category got created, and that's the category of SaaS management platforms. So we've seen a couple different organizations and analysts pick up this term, but the goal of a SaaS management platform is to centralize all the data, all the actions, all the permissions, et cetera, within these applications to give IT teams significantly more power and control over their scaling SaaS environment. And ultimately, these types of tools are the new types of tools that we are seeing IT organizations adopt in order to tackle these growing trends in SaaS. And so what we'll spend a little bit of time talking about now is how Better Cloud is one of those solutions, is the leading SaaS management platform. And ultimately, when we talk about the value of a SaaS management platform, and in our case, the value of Better Cloud, we're helping IT teams maximize operational efficiency, centralize data protection, and transform the employee experience. And the way we do that is through a couple different buckets. So the first is app insights, getting an understanding of what are the apps, the SaaS apps that are being used within your organization. Who's using them? Who has access to them? Ultimately, how are they being used? And what that insight allows you to do is not just get a holistic picture of all the apps that you're now tasked with managing, but allows you, when we talk back to one of those first pain points of license optimization, it gives you insight into how to save real costs on your SaaS spend. If you've got duplicative systems out there, redundant applications, if you've got people who aren't logging into apps and you're still paying for their licenses, or people who left the company years ago and still have accounts active, there's a lot of money that can be reclaimed due to insights into SaaS applications. Once you've got that picture of your SaaS apps, we talk a little bit about user management and the life cycle of an employee at your company. And so this follows everything from their hiring process and onboarding, getting the apps they need, the files they need, the groups they need to be in, et cetera, all their filled out profile information. All of that goes into that new employee having a successful onboarding and not needing to open up IT ticket after IT ticket in order to get what they need to be successful in their role. On the flip side, mid-life cycle changes, someone switches teams, has a name change, is working on a new project, is opening up a ticket for something as simple as a password reset or access to an application. Giving IT teams a zero-touch way for end users and employees to interact with IT in a completely automated fashion really saves time and helps the employee experience because, again, there's no waiting period. We're cutting down a huge amount of overhead in order to deliver a much better employee experience. And then as individuals leave the organization, making sure that they're offboarded in a secure way, in a timely fashion, that their licenses are cleaned up, data is transferred to the appropriate party so that business keeps moving forward and you're not digging around through ex-employees' inboxes to try and find information or having to put in requests for access. And so managing the user lifecycle and managing users as a whole is another key use case solved with Better Cloud. And then finally, when we talk about the growing risk that comes with SaaS applications, our data protection at Better Cloud is unparalleled in terms of giving insights into not just what may be gained from one admin console in a native application, but bringing all of this data into one place within Better Cloud to very quickly identify things like sensitive data or oversharing of data or risky applications or people who have too many permissions in a given application. And when you have the ability to see all of those different things and then automate the remediation when something does go wrong, you're not waiting around or having to do manual work, and it brings a lot more peace of mind to the IT and security teams. And so that's where we've seen Better Cloud really make a change. To talk a little bit deeper about some of these value points, again, looking back at App Insights now, you can see here in this screenshot, we're showing a list of all the applications identified at a given organization, bringing in the ability to categorize those apps as sanctioned or unsanctioned. Are they risky or are they approved? What users have access versus what users shouldn't have access. And what we've seen, and we've worked with some groups on this to help analyze this, is on average, per departing user at a company, when that company uses Better Cloud, they are saving $240 on license costs alone when they have this level of insight provided by Better Cloud. That's $240 per departing user. So that adds up very quick, especially in the context of today's world where it's a very hot job market and people are leaving and joining companies. That can very quickly add up to serious dollars if not checked. And so make sure that you're getting the most out of your SaaS portfolio by leveraging Better Cloud's App Insights. And again, what we talked about is the ability to then leverage these App Insights for policies and automate things. We don't just want to be sort of a visual platform to just see data. We want to be able to alert on and automate critical issues that can arise. So in this screenshot here, what we're seeing is anyone who hasn't logged into a given application in the past 30 days and over 30 days, what do we want to do? Do we want to ask them if they still need that license? Do we want to ask their manager if that person still needs their license? Do we want to go all the way through and reclaim that license potentially for someone who does need it? So Better Cloud gives the flexibility to take this deep, rich, patented data set that we have and then allow our customers to automate based off of all that data in a very straightforward and easy to use way. Now, when we focus on user management, to talk a little bit about the value here, we talked about the user lifecycle, but to put a number on that, 94% decrease in time needed to perform your user lifecycle management tasks like onboarding, offboarding, and status change. When we talk about that, many times when I've had conversations with customers or prospective customers and we ask them to walk us through what their onboarding or offboarding process looks like, It's manual. There's multiple teams involved, whether it's HR or managers, obviously IT, security, potentially the business owners of different applications. The logs of any of these processes are a bit sporadic, because if you've got people being onboarded into app A, we need to check some logs over there, versus being onboarded into app B, we have to go to this place over here. So what we see is this extremely tedious, extremely manual set of tasks that is very time consuming, and that takes away from IT to be able to focus on other critical tasks that they need to focus on. And so that 94% decrease in the amount of time spending is 94% of time put back into the business. When we see about what we talked about earlier with IT spending a larger cohort and amount of time working with the business on tackling challenges, Better Cloud, by giving that time savings around some of these repetitive automatable tasks, is a way for IT to do that. Now, the ultimate way here is leveraging what we've called zero-touch IT orchestration. And so, to give an example, when a new hire or a new employee gets hired, ultimately a ticket gets created in a ticketing system. Instead of then having an IT person have to go into all these different applications and do all these different steps, Better Cloud can listen for when that ticket gets created, pull information from that ticket, and handle the onboarding process, in this example, into all of these different applications. The same concept works for things like app requests, password resets. And so you're able to build this IT infrastructure on Better Cloud to automate a lot of what goes into the day-to-day of an IT admin, again, giving time back to them to work on the business as a whole and get out from behind the scenes and really make an impact on the business. And finally, we talked a little bit about data protection as a concept and how risk has been growing. So it all starts, like what we talked about with discovery, is understanding and identifying potential issues or risks in the business. And so Better Cloud, again, ingests things like files, settings, permissions, applications and application settings, etc. But being able to then, as we see in this screenshot, create a workflow to say, when something is found, potentially sensitive information in a publicly shared file, what do we want to do? What makes the most sense for the business to do in that scenario? And so what we can see here is you've got a lot of flexibility. You can email people to let them know that this took place, or send an alert to the appropriate parties. You can automatically revoke things. So a file gets shared publicly, change that sharing. Change the owner even if you want to. There's a lot of different routes you can go based on the security posture of your business. And so what we've seen is about a 50% reduction in security exposure for documents and accounts. 50%. And so when you think about everything that goes into security and how SaaS is exploding, a 50% reduction is an excellent place to start with getting your arms around SaaS. And these customizable policies allow, as we talked about, not just alerting, but actions. And you can, again, follow this thread through as far as you need. So if we look at a couple different examples here, say a new administrator gets added to an application. Do you determine that as something that's risky? I would say potentially a lot of people do. And so maybe we go down this yes path. Maybe the first thing we want to do is send out an alert being, hey, a new admin got added to Google or to Microsoft or to Slack or to any other application. What do we want to do if that happens? Do we want to stop at an alert? Maybe. Or do we want to remove that admin access? Do we want to have to put that admin access through an approval in order to actually allow them to do that? Or do we want to use Better Cloud and restrict their level of access to a much smaller cohort as opposed to super admin and let them work on exactly what they need to work on without oversharing permissions? And that's just one example. But again, guest users like contractors being added, when settings in a group changes to make data visible, if someone turns off multi-factor authentication, someone creates and shares files in a public channel in Slack. There's over 200 alerts on the identification side that are more or less infinitely customizable, and over 900 actions that come out of the box with Better Cloud to take those alerts and actually remediate a change. And so what we've seen ultimately is that because Better Cloud as a platform has the ability to pull in data from all of these different applications, over 70 applications, and do work with it, we're seeing over 10,000 automated workflows run per day. Workflows being the automations run by Better Cloud across all of these mission critical SaaS applications. And so that's what we're seeing in terms of benefit. People are connecting these apps, taking the actions they need to take, and automating a tremendous amount across their companies to bring time and reduced risk back into their business. And so with that, I just want to say thank you. This has been great to go over this presentation today. If anyone is looking to learn more, you can absolutely hit up this website link here, bettercloud.com/request-a-demo, to learn a little bit more about how potentially Better Cloud can support you and the challenges that your business is encountering. But thank you very much, and I think we'll take some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. We are ready to jump into some questions. Michael, thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation, and Dennis, welcome to our Q&A session. Did I have you guys here? Michael, Dennis, you with me?
Yeah, sorry, I got a little bit of feedback here. Hold on a minute, I'll fix it.
Technology. Well, I tell you what, while you're getting that, your computer speakers muted, which hopefully should fix that little sound loop. I just want to point out,
it.
You got it? You got it. Well, hi, Dennis. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's not like you warned me 27 times.
You know, well, it's always got to be something, right? It's not a live event if somebody isn't muted or unmuted when they should be. I'm sure everyone in the audience can relate. And I do want to point out to all of you that we do have a poll question up on the screen for you. We're looking to find out what additional information you would like to get about the Better Cloud solution. So we just got a lot of really great info. And I apologize to you. I'll tell you my voice is a little bit strained today. So bear with me. But you know, one of the things that we talk about a lot is just how much information you guys get in these sessions, and you're going to retain quite a bit of it, but you're also going to lose quite a bit of it. So these polls are a really easy way for you to let the company know, hey, I've learned some cool stuff. I'd like to remind myself of it later. I'd like to follow up and read a little bit more later. So do take a moment right now and click on that poll. Let Better Cloud know how they can follow up with you, how they can support you when you're doing some research a little bit later on. So while you're doing that, should we dive into some audience questions here?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's do it. So this one I was curious about because Verinder is wondering about sort of the key uniques from Better Cloud and what makes you stand out. And I'm going to tack on a secondary question. So not just why is it unique and what makes you stand out, but also why aren't cloud or native cloud SaaS security? Why isn't that enough? Why Better Cloud?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that there's maybe some assumptions in the industry that because it's in the cloud, it's backed up in some data center out in the middle of nowhere, and everything is protected. And the reality is, it's still your company data, even though it's maybe moving in and out of the cloud. And so I think between IT and security, there's still responsibility to secure that data, whether it's at rest or in transit, it's moving around. And you can't assume that just because it lives in the cloud that it's protected or secured. An example is if you have a departing employee, and they leave, and let's say that you're using 100 different SaaS applications in your company. When they leave, somebody has to back them out of each one of those applications, which is both time consuming. There's a lot of steps. There's different groups they were in, different levels of permission. And if you don't clear all that up, then they still have access to something like Salesforce. They get access to all of your sales data. They could have access to project management software, any sort of thing, if those aren't all sort of cleaned up. So there is a huge risk within the SaaS environment, to protect that data. So something that we do that's unique is we have a patent where we actually ingest metadata from these applications. And so that does a couple of things. One, it allows us to do some deeper analysis on what's going on with, like the files and the applications. But it also allows us to take quicker action through, automation or even just manually, because we don't have to sort of keep polling these applications for information. We've already ingested all. We have that information. And so as an example, we can scan, like DLP capability, right? We can scan files for personally identifiable information, and then we can also set up alerts that says, hey, if somebody's going to be sharing, these critical files outside of the company, we need to know about it. And then one step further is I can set up automations that protect from that even happening, or remediate it if it does happen. So like if it happens, I can go in and have an automation set up that says, hey, remove that person's access, send an email to them, send an email to their manager to let them know, or change permission levels on the file. So there's lots of flexibility you can do there, and you can automate all that, which is nice, so that you can actually go home and have a little bit of peace of mind that something's not blowing up in the IT environment.
That's perfect. Well, and I think you managed to answer a few other questions in there as well, which is great because, no, that's fantastic. That's efficiency. We're running a bit short on time, so that worked out well. I'm going to sneak in one last question here, and I'm doing it to you again. I'm giving you another two-parter because Con was wondering about the average time to getting an organization kind of signed up and fully functional, and I'm wondering if you can also add on there, what are the sort of training that would be available through BetterCloud as well to help make that process as smooth as possible.
Sure. We have a huge amount of templates for building automations. I'm a marketing guy, and I went through it, and I play with the demo. It's pretty easy to spin up automations. It's kind of a no-code workflow, so you don't have to be programmer, developer to spin these things up. In addition to that, we have professional services that can help either do it for you or work side by side or train you to do it. And we're spinning up folks within about 2 months or less. And then lastly, we have an extensive amount of online training. We call it flight school, which is kind of cool because you can earn badges, like a pilot, like an airline pilot, and you can earn credits and get swag and stuff for completing the courses, and it's all entirely free, which is another awesome thing, and pretty extensive. So we give you about as much help as we can possibly give to help you get started and get going as quickly as possible.
Love that. Yeah, that's really important because the tool can be fantastic, but if you can't get up and running right away, if you can't use it properly, then it's not going to do what it needs to do. So I appreciate, and I'm sure the audience appreciates that support. I wish we could keep talking to you all day, Dennis. You've got some great answers for us, but I think we're going to have to leave it there. Before you leave us, though, I know Michael gave us a link right at the end of his presentation. What do you recommend is sort of the first step for somebody who's ready to jump in with BetterCloud?
Yeah, just get a hold of us, set up a demo, and, there's oodles of links on the website for that. But yeah, just get a hold of us, and we'll be happy to walk you through what we have and how we can help, and even do like a personalized assessment to help sort of surface the problem areas that we can focus on first.
Love that. And we're getting a couple of high fives from the audience. Deb wanted to say great stuff and thanks. And on that note, Deb, I know you in particular, and I've seen a bunch of other questions that are coming in that we did not get to today. So I do want to let you know that if you asked a question that we didn't get to cover with Dennis, we will make sure that it goes to the BetterCloud team. So you will have a chance to hear back from the team. You'll get answers. So do keep those questions coming in, even though we have to kind of move these Q&A sessions along at a clip here sometimes. Dennis, thank you so much for joining us here today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, and to everyone out there who filled out the poll, thank you for taking some time to do that. It's so helpful, again, for us to see what information, how we can follow up with you, how BetterCloud can support you. And I'm loving all the positivity coming in, everybody sharing some high fives. It really does kind of bring up the whole energy of the MegaCast here today. And as you can hear, I'm a little under the weather, so I appreciate you guys bringing the energy. If I can't quite bring it as per usual, but. Let's go ahead. Speaking of high energy, I know what will amp everybody up. Oh, look at that. It is time for our very first prize giveaway. So we're going to start out with a $500 Amazon gift card, and then I'm going to give away an Apple iPhone 14 Pro. That's right. Two very exciting prizes today. So our first lucky winner, before I do this, now I'm going to remind you all, I feel like you're all saying this at home with me, you do need to be here present live at the webinar in order to win. So if you are here today and your name is, let's see, Corey Hopwood, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. If you are here today and your name is Corey Hopwood of Tennessee, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. And our first winner of a new iPhone 14 Pro, that's the right order, is going to Segi Yokota of Pennsylvania. Segi Yokota of Pennsylvania. So congratulations to Corey on your gift card and Segi on your shiny new iPhone. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap today. Don't forget that there's still lots more chances to win a prize, plus that best question gift card from each session. So even if we don't get to your question live during the Q&A session, you're still entered for a chance to win that best question card. So keep those coming in. All right, well, up next, speaking of exciting, I am pretty pumped up to introduce you all to our next speaker in today's MegaCast. One of my absolute favorite presenters, the one and only Irvin Guerra, Solutions Marketing Manager at Gigamon. Irvin, so excited to see you again. It's been a minute. I know that you have some great content to dig into, and we definitely want to leave some time for Q&A at the end. So I am going to hand the mic right on over to you, my friend.
Thanks, Jess. Hey, everyone. It's extremely nice to meet you and hope the event has gone well so far. My name is Irvin Guerra, and I am a solutions marketer here at Gigamon. And for today's presentation, I will be talking a little bit about how Gigamon can help streamline, secure, and protect IT infrastructure. For today's agenda, we'll begin by talking about the current challenges organizations are experiencing because of cloud and the difficulties of monitoring in IT infrastructure. We'll then dive into what's needed to establish a robust visibility strategy. This will then lead us into how Gigamon can help establish a robust visibility strategy. And we'll end today's presentation with a summary wrapping everything together. Let's begin. So what challenges are we currently seeing? First of all, I don't think it's much of a secret that organizations across the board are simply struggling to protect cloud-native applications. And the struggle to do so is definitely justified because cloud applications bring a new perimeter to all organizations. Cloud infrastructure itself has been around for a while, but the overall adoption by organizations is much more recent. Of course, this adoption has been driven by the many benefits that cloud brings, including pricing, overall infrastructure agility, and ease of use. But organizations are so mesmerized by the benefits that they are pursuing this journey blind to the challenges and risks that come with cloud infrastructure. This weight ultimately comes down on the folks managing the cloud infrastructure, and most of the times they themselves either lack the talent knowledge to address these challenges, or they simply lack the right tools to secure and protect their cloud instances. This leads to challenges when addressing security risks like malware and ransomware, like I'm sure we've all seen and heard over the past few years. More and more, we are hearing and seeing news about organizations being hit with security breaches like malware and ransomware attacks. Both the amount and the magnitude of these incidents are increasing as perpetrators become more sophisticated and organizations continue to rush into the cloud without a formidable security or protection strategy. So, as we can tell, it's no reason, right? It's very easy to see the value in cloud, but in a way, organizations are doing so without really being able to understand the security risks and also, what comes with it all. And as we all know, a formidable cloud infrastructure security strategy is a shared responsibility between the cloud provider and the customer themselves. And this is something that isn't really talked about as much, but it's extremely important to remember this. Cloud providers take care of keeping the lights on and making sure the infrastructure is running, but not what's happening within it. And it's no secret that organizations struggle with their end of the shared security model due to having a lack of the right talent or expertise or the right tools. And unfortunately, this struggle has led to security breaches mostly caused by employees, most of the time without them knowing and against the knowledge of their own mistakes. Log4j ransomware are the talk of today, and there will definitely be more. And unfortunately, things will only get harder as perpetrators increase their overall skills and organizations continue to rapidly adopt cloud infrastructures. It's like a game of cat and mouse, right? Cat is chasing the mouse, mouse is trying to get this cheese, except the mouse, or the perpetrators, already knows the location of the cheese and is fast, while the cat has 3 legs and missing both eyes. Regardless of the landscape, organizations need to do everything they can to prevent security breaches because both performance downtime and security breaches are expensive, whether you're paying off a ransomware attack or spending half a day with your infrastructure down. Both aren't good places to be in. Even with the right talent and knowledge of cloud infrastructure, the goal of securing and protecting IT infrastructure is extremely hard to execute. There has been an explosion of applications, capabilities, devices, and systems sitting on an organization's infrastructure. And not only is it hard to gain access to all these things, but it's even harder to get the right data to the right tools. As we can see here in this diagram, on the left-hand side, we have all the sources of data you'd want to monitor. And on the right, we have all the tools you're using to monitor your infrastructure. Security, observability tools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As we can see, trying to get all the sources talking to all the tools is a complete mess and is extremely hard to do correctly. But it's important to remember that the ability to keep performance and security running effectively is entirely based on the visibility an organization has into what's happening through every single little one of these strands living between the source of data and your tools. No visibility equals inability to effectively execute any performance or security strategy. And a lack of visibility is something that organizations simply can't afford. And it's quite simple in itself, but hard to execute. A lack of visibility into what's happening within your IT infrastructure prevents you from understanding where performance is beginning to falter. And at the end of the day, you can only secure what you can see, right? So ideally, a robust visibility strategy should help organizations identify signs of performances and security issues before they happen across their entire infrastructure in a way that is simple to execute. A robust visibility strategy is crucial for organizations as they continue down their cloud journey, regardless of the talent, knowledge, and tools that are found within an organization. So when it comes to establishing a robust visibility strategy, what should it cover? And this is based on what we've talked about with many organizations. Lots of feedback has gone into this, and we've really sat down and tried to figure out what that robust visibility strategy entails across the board. So there's a few things to keep in mind when it comes to building this robust visibility strategy. So first, they must be able to cover east to west traffic, including container communications. Firewalls are great for covering north to south traffic and have done so for quite some time now, but it's not a secret that firewalls don't catch everything. A complete visibility strategy is a combination of north-south and east-to-west visibility, not just north-to-south traffic. Second, this visibility strategy should make it easy for an organization to get the right data to the right tools. You can have the most amazing monitoring strategy, but it takes you forever to get the right data. But if it takes you forever to get the right data to the right tools, it kind of defeats the purpose of having a strategy to begin with when you're spending 90% of your time sourcing the right data and 10% of your time actually trying to figure out what's happening within your infrastructure. Third, it should be able to detect funky things like shadow IT, torrent, and crypto mining applications that are currently running. The last thing you want is someone using company assets to fill their pockets with the latest crypto coin that has become famous. Which reminds me, I need to buy some more Ethereum, and I can assure everyone that I will buy it legally and not mine it off of companies' infrastructure. Fourth, it must be able to discover things that have been added to an organization's infrastructure, like unmanaged hosts, applications, APIs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is especially crucial as the amount of devices in an infrastructure related to things like IoT, OT, IOMT continue to explode without a sign of slowing down, right? Finally, and of course, this strategy must help organizations with complying with both internal and external compliance measures, and must also help organizations pinpoint where issues are occurring. Similar to getting the right data to the right tools, an amazing monitoring strategy loses a lot of value if it takes you forever to find where the issues are occurring upon seeing initial signs of something happening. Lots of things go into the creation of a robust visibility strategy. But remember, a robust visibility strategy is extremely important to have. The performance and security of your infrastructure depends solely on the effectiveness of this visibility strategy. And especially as you dive deeper and deeper into your cloud journey, this becomes more and more crucial. So what about Gigamon? How can we help? So here at Gigamon, we help organizations build a robust visibility strategy to protect and secure their IT infrastructure. We also help streamline the ability to do so. So over the years, we've helped organizations establish complete visibility across their entire infrastructure, including the cloud. Most of organizations we help experience the problems that come with the rapid adoption of a cloud journey, including lack of security and establishment of blind spots. For those of you that do not know about Gigamon, our story began around 20 years ago now, 20 years ago now, helping organizations gain visibility into their on-premise infrastructure through a combination of test access points. Some of you may know it as just TAPs, aggregators, and network packet brokers. Since our inception, we have helped some of the biggest organizations you can think of, and because of our customer base, we have experience dealing with some of the most complex infrastructures you can think of, and have provided them all with complete visibility for their monitoring and security needs on premise. This has helped them streamline the overall complexities of monitoring what's happening in their infrastructure, helping them focus more on securing and protecting their infrastructure and less on actually having to acquire the data they need to see. A few years ago, we began to notice how our customers were rolling out cloud strategies as adoption of public and private cloud technologies began to simply explode. And upon noticing this, we began to refactor our solution to provide customers with visibility into their private and public cloud environments as well. Today, we offer a solution that provides customers with visibility into their hybrid and multi-cloud environments on top of our inception product of providing folks with on-premise visibility to help them establish a robust visibility strategy across their entire infrastructure. This includes, again, on-premise, private cloud, public cloud, containers, pretty much the whole thing. So when we first started, organizations were struggling to gain visibility into what was happening within their on-premise infrastructure. Having to directly access packets and flow data needed for various tools made it a mess for an organization to understand what was happening, and in turn created visibility blind spots, drove up the data consumption costs and tool costs, and made it impossible to scale a network without having to completely reconfigure the tools. To solve this, we introduced organizations to the network packet broker to help them simply and easily establish complete visibility by getting the right data to the right tools using a centralized solution. This helped organizations enhance security by eliminating blind spots, helped them pinpoint issues and monitor their network more efficiently by sending only the right data to the right tools, and allowed for them to scale freely since they no longer had to remap their tools directly to the infrastructure. As I mentioned earlier towards the beginning of the presentation, over the past few years, we've noticed how organizations have rapidly moved into the cloud, and it makes sense considering all the benefits that cloud brings. But the more an organization grows in their cloud journey, the more complexities that appear. A hybrid and multi-cloud infrastructure is becoming more and more common and it is extremely hard to manage given its complex and finite architecture. 5G and IoT are introducing new devices at exponentially increasing rates, making it much harder for organizations to understand what exactly is happening in their infrastructure. And the rollout of initiatives like Zero Trust Security and implementation of next-gen data centers is adding even more complexity to an already complicated problem, making it extremely hard for organizations to establish an effective and robust visibility strategy. And the reality is, it's hard to establish a robust visibility strategy. when you're trying to monitor every little thing that is going on across your on-prem, private cloud, public cloud environments. It's frankly a nightmare. There's so much to cover. But the thing is, you still need to have visibility across your entire infrastructure because the protection and security of it depends on it. In this model, we can see some of the difficulties that organizations are experiencing when trying to establish a visibility strategy. Organizations are dealing with disparate environments, all with their own logging, their own storage, and each environment comes with its own cost to migrate data to monitoring and security tools. Cloud mirroring services can only have one destination. This forces organizations to set up an agent per tool per environment, which is hard to manage. Everything is siloed. There's a lack of cohesive visibility across all environments, creating visibility blind spots, since organizations run the risk of focusing on one area of their infrastructure when an issue can be occurring on a complete other side. And on top of all this, logging hasn't really changed in recent years. Nobody knows still what applications and data is in motion on the wire because logging can only tell you that something is in motion, but not exactly what the problem is, leading to a reactive form of monitoring your infrastructure. Here at Gigamon, we offer a solution that helps organizations establish a robust visibility strategy across their entire infrastructure, and not just in cloud. And this allows for organizations to eliminate blind spots and dive deeper into what's happening across their infrastructure, establishing an effective security posture and streamlining the efforts of doing so. With Gigamon Hawk, organizations can eliminate the silos and monitor what's happening across all their environments through a single interface. Organizations can use this to eliminate blind spots across the board and reduce the 4 individual conversations coming out of each siloed environment. In this case, one for AWS, one for Azure, one for on-prem, one for private cloud, into a single one across their entire infrastructure. Gigamon Hawk also provides organizations with access to east to west traffic, complementing the north to south visibility that a firewall can provide, allowing them to understand what is currently happening within their infrastructure, not just what comes in and out of it, right, from a north to south perspective. Organizations can also use a Gigamon for establishing a single Gigamon agent or native mirroring to send data acquired to many tools rather than just one to help pinpoint issues faster, right? Sourcing data from a cloud instance can be extremely hard to do. And with Gigamon, you can use either a single Gigamon agent or native mirroring to leverage Gigamon to get all the data into all the tools instead of just having to go send directly to a single tool in a one-to-one relationship. And organizations can leverage metadata offered by Gigamon to understand what's happening across the board. And again, as we mentioned earlier, logging has its limitations. Gigamon combines logging data with our own metadata to add another layer of intelligence that helps organizations establish a truly secure security posture. Not only does Gigamon help organizations with accessibility, remember you can only see what you can, or you can only secure what you can see, but we also add an extra layer of intelligence on top of your log data strategy to establish a robust security posture. The ability to access all data in motion across on-prem, virtual public cloud, and containers using a single platform is what we refer to as deep observability. So if you hop on our website and take a look at who we are and so forth, we'll see a lot of the deep observability messaging, and that's exactly what we define as deep observability. So at a super high level, Gigamon can be used to streamline the process of accessing any workload from any source and have it delivered to any tool through our platform. We can provide full or partial copies of packets, NetFlow for seams, and both network and app metadata for observability tools. Diving into limitations of logging just real quick, Melt data is great for getting deep information into each host, but it has its limitations. CPU consumption and managing memory are challenges with logging. Melt only provides information about managed hosts, not unmanaged hosts, and logs can be tampered. This is usually one of the first steps for any attacker once they get in, and is extremely crucial why you want that east to west visibility, because once they're tampered and once the threat actor gets into your infrastructure, the only way to catch that is with the east-west visibility. And again, think it's important to mention that melt data is great and does offer organizations invaluable information about what's happening. I mean, it's a reason why it's still been around for so long, right? But it's simply not enough for establishing an effective security posture. Logging can't be used to identify things as or before they're happening, and logging can only identify things after the fact, which provides a limitation as things are becoming more and more complex to monitor and to secure. So in summary, Gigamon helps organizations secure and protect their IT infrastructure by establishing complete visibility and streamlines the process of doing so. The ability to streamline, secure, and protect your IT infrastructure is only getting harder and harder to do. Let us know if we can help you establish a streamlined and robust visibility strategy. Thank you, folks. And if there's any questions, please let me know. I've put my email on the screen. And Jess, thank you for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely, Irvin. That was such a fun presentation. Really great content there. It sounds silly, but I love the idea of deep visibility, especially because we talk about this so often that, you can't protect what you don't know. You can't manage what you don't know. You can't streamline what you don't know. You need to know what's happening. You need to see what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds simple, right? But I think a lot of times we forget that when we're working on these strategies and plans. So that's awesome.
Yeah. No, and it's one of those things that it's extremely hard to accomplish. And as the world becomes more and more complex and organizations continue to rapidly adopt infrastructures in the cloud, it's no secret that it's extremely hard to accomplish. But there are solutions out there, and I'm sure 10 years from now, it's going to be nice and beautiful with a little bit more of a template of how to do all these things. So we'll see.
And then we'll invent something whole new that'll throw everything out of whack again.
Exactly. One day we'll have holograms, and we'll have like visibility into holograms, and it'll be crazy. It'll be cool.
Okay, great. Yes, looking forward to doing all my work holographically in the future. Irvin, we have a ton of great questions coming in, and I want to make sure that we get to as many of those as we can. So are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Awesome. I want to start with this one here because I think this is something that is going to be coming up for a lot of people. So does Gigamon have visibility into containers?
Yes. So this is actually a feature that just got released a couple months ago. So in the past, we were doing public, private, on-prem, pretty much the whole stack, I guess we can say, of infrastructure. But with this recent release of GigaView 6, we now include visibility into containers. So one of the things that we were realizing was a lot of IT is moving into using containerized environments. So to complement that and to really provide and be true to our messaging, or be true to our capabilities of covering any source within, or any workload within any source to people's tools, we built out that functionality to also cover containers. So it was a big lift, and definitely kudos to the product team for being able to accomplish it. And in itself, our customers are benefiting significantly from that.
I love that, and kudos for seeing the need and then making that change, that upgrade. That's always kind of reassuring to know about any solution that you're looking at, is that they're also looking to evolve and grow. All right. Well, another question here: can Gigamon do decryption?
Yes, we can. Now, for that, I would recommend anybody interested in learning about decryption to reach out to me directly, or to reach out to our team off our website directly for more information about that. Decryption itself is a very sensitive topic, especially with all security concerns currently going on. But we'd be happy to walk through and to learn a little bit about the situation that the customer is looking to accomplish. But at super high level, yes, we can do decryption.
Okay, so there you go. So if that's what you're kind of wondering about still, reach out, follow up. You've got some contact info and ways to kind of connect and get a little bit more info there. We're a little short on time, but I do want to sneak in one last question here, because we did get a few questions about SIMs. So can you tell us, is Gigamon a SIM?
No, so we would supply SIMs with data. It's a great question. So think of SIM as the tool that we would be sending data to. We would just make it extremely easier for organizations to get that data to their SIM.
Nice, quick and easy. Okay, well, yeah. Irvin, I can talk to you all day, but I think we will have to leave it there. Before you run away, for anyone out there that's just fallen totally in love with Gigamon, they're ready to jump in, what do they do? What's their first step?
Yeah, great question. So there's a couple different ways. You could contact me directly through email. So Irvin, my first name, .Guerra, last name, @gigamon.com. I'd be more than happy to help with any follow-up questions that don't get answered today. And if you want to learn a little bit more about us, gigamon.com is another great way of getting to know a little bit about us, consuming some content, seeing different assets that or different PDFs, information that you can get going, and ultimately contact our sales team for more information. So
I love that. That's some good ways to get started. Irvin, again, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's a pleasure as always.
Yeah, appreciate you, Jess.
All right, and you can see that I have put up the poll question for you all. So again, we'd love to get your feedback on any additional resources that you would like to explore from Gigamon. So again, a reminder, this is so helpful. Your future self will thank you for taking a little bit of time now, clicking on the poll, letting them know how Gigamon can follow up with you. But it's also just a great way, to make your life a little bit easier. So both in the sense of reminding you of some of the content we've gotten today, but also, when you're out there, you're researching, you're Googling, you're clicking around, you're visiting all these different sites, and it's a lot. It's a lot. So why not just basically, deliver right to your doorstep all the resources that you're looking for. So click on that poll right now. Let Gigamon know how they can follow up with you. And the other thing I want to remind you to do is head on over to that handouts tab, because you can actually find the solution brief, Gigamon Hawk Deep Observability Pipeline. Get a higher level of security and compliance assurance for your hybrid cloud. So awesome read, lots of really good information. It follows up on everything that we just heard from Irvin. So download that now and save that for later. Now, while you're answering that poll, I'm going to get into a little more excitement. We're going to bring out some more prize winners. So up next, we have a $500 Amazon gift card and an Apple iPhone 14 Pro. I don't know why I'm struggling with that today. iPhone 14 Pro, iPhone 14 Pro. All right, I'm going to keep working on that. Meanwhile, you do need to be here present live at the webinar in order to qualify to win. And our first winner of a $500 Amazon gift card, second winner today, but first winner of this moment, is Andrew Henricks of California. Andrew Henricks of California, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. And our next winner of an Apple iPhone 14 Pro, nailed it that time, is Phil Blake of Texas. Phil Blake of Texas. So congratulations to Andrew on your gift card and to Phil for your shiny new iPhone. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prizes after we wrap the webinar tonight. Now, don't forget that there's still more chances to win, plus that best question gift card from each session. So keep those questions coming in, because A, it's awesome and it brings up the whole energy of the day, and B, you could win a cool prize. All right, so speaking of coolness, how do you like that segue? We're going to move on over to Rubrik. Up next, I am very excited to introduce you all to our next presenter in the MegaCast, Chris Wolf, Database Solution Architect from Rubrik. I'm really excited to get into this session because I know that Chris has just a ton of great content lined up for us. So let's dive in. Chris, so great to have you here with us on the MegaCast.
Thanks for having me today. Today we're going to talk about database threats. We're going to talk about preventing the worst with zero trust data management. My name is Christopher Wolf. I'm a database solutions architect here at Rubrik. And the agenda we're going to talk about today is, what the problem is, what the solutions we could come up with, and how do we address those issues. So what is the problem? The past few years have showed everyone how critical data is to business activities, how susceptible it is to attack. Security research has said for years the two types of organizations exist are ones that have been hacked and those that don't know they've been hacked. Defense and depth doesn't stop everything. And technical solutions only go so far. They are dependent on human interaction with data input, analysis, and maintenance. And the fact that humans make mistakes. unless of course you're a DBA, in which you're perfect as well. But how do we fix these fundamental issues? So is there a solution? Attacks have one common theme. They want to impact your data in some fashion. Exfiltration, ransomware, denying access, etc. If we want to minimize risk, we need to move beyond basics, defense in depth, and move to security at the point of the data itself. Some of the best ways to address this are implementing a zero trust framework throughout your data lifecycle, and then implementing mitigation plans to minimize your impact. So let's talk more about this with a primary focus in areas of mitigation. Proactive mitigation, insurance or CYA mitigation, and then reactive mitigation as well. So let's start with proactive mitigation. So proactive mitigation focuses on efforts on tasks that can be done to prevent an attack from being successful. This is not a single activity when it comes to database threats. It spans multiple areas. These include infrastructure, authentication, authorization, data lifecycle, and application design and usage. So what should companies be focusing on to maximize their data security? So first is infrastructure. Hardware vendors update their BIOS and firmware, and they are often forgotten about. These updates contain security updates that patch low-level exploits. Operating system vendors are constantly reviewing threats against them. They will run red team versus blue team exercises to find holes and patch them. This is in addition to the bug bounty programs they have available to them. With all of this information, they will apply these fixes to their OSs and release monthly or more frequently security updates are critical to keeping an OS hardened against these threats, basically. Hypervisors are an additional point of entry. These are systems that are their own operating system and applications, but they contain their full set of exploits along with that. Think about the recent, exploit that affected vCenter. Thankfully, VMware, worked very fast to get that up, to get a workaround and patch it out to customers so the exploit could be closed. But, it's something to be aware of, basically. And database platforms like SQL Server release security updates in addition to the regular normal update lifecycle to ensure, a secure platform. These security updates are closing exploits found that are specific to the database platform. They would be additional exploits to what you found on the OS itself, basically. There's a great deal of patching. How should a limited set of resources prioritize their patching efforts? DBAs can't do this alone. It's really a team effort with your security team and overall sysadmins to decide what patches are critical and what are nice to haves. Knowing what to patch, when to patch is great, but what have you done to ensure the correct person is performing the activities? That brings us to our next subject, authentication. So with authentication, the main thing we're going to talk about, a lot of people talk about, is MFA. So when it comes to MFA, the main thing is like something a password or a PIN that is given to you, something you have, either a smartphone or a USB key, you're using Google Authenticator or MS Authenticator, and those programs help you to make sure that you have rotating keys, things like that. And then something you are, a fingerprint or facial recognition. On my phone on my computer currently, I have a webcam on it, and it recognizes my face to get into any applications I need to get into in our system. Password storage, don't store your passwords in plain text. Obviously, that's pretty obvious to most people nowadays, but just in case. And then hash passwords stored in databases, you have many different programs that can do that for you. And then password policy. Length is better than complexity due to password patterns created by users. Password crackers, have adapted to those. Can easily crack a password that is like password 123, but making the password longer is harder for the password crackers to crack. Using breach password protection, each new password is compared to a blacklist of already compromised passwords. If the new password is on that list, it should be rejected altogether. And then periodic resets, cause users to use predictable patterns when creating new passwords, things like that. So tokens and certificates are another thing to consider as well. Do not hard code your tokens into the applications. They should be stored separately. Treat tokens as you would passwords. And then tokens should be like certificates. They should expire after a certain amount of time. They can be rotated on periodic basis, things like that. Assuming we follow the standard reference, once we authenticate, we should be able to do whatever we want, correct? Well, not quite. And the things that bring us to our next subject, which is called privileges. So, excessive privileges is the first thing, is the minimal permission required to do a job principle being followed? If we've got, a sysadmin on a different location, but he's not a DBA, does he really need full access to that database? Things like that. How many people have elevated access to the database? Along with that, do we have admins? Maybe you had a principal architect who was standing up the database at first, and then he wanted to you gave him full access at the beginning, but as the production becomes more mature, do we really need to keep them, give them that elevated access as it goes on? And then who has admin access or root access? Should they? Sometimes you have a thing, once again, where they're doing everything in the background, but maybe we shouldn't give them everything. Abuse of privilege is another thing. You have a rogue admin, maybe they're a disgruntled employee, or maybe on their way out. Make sure that they're having the right information. Person who changed roles, who was grandfathered access to do something they should not. Along with that, whenever a person changes roles in the company, is their old access revoked? A lot of the times that was not the case in the past companies I worked with. They would just still have that access. So something, maybe an audit every once in a while to tell that. And then abandoned privileges, users that are still active when the application is no longer active. In a SQL server, it's very possible that they have access to multiple databases, but if a database goes offline, they'd still have access to maybe more underlying systems that we don't want them to have access to. And then users that have left the company, but their access is not revoked, are they still able to log in through some nefarious way or anything like that? So something to think about. At this point, it sounds like I'm creating a lot more work for you as a DBA. I can imagine you saying, my job is to keep the database online and processing as quickly as possible. Isn't security somebody else's job? The first job of a DBA is and always has been data protection. You are here to protect what I would call the crown jewels of the company, and that is data. The way this is accomplished is twofold: confirming backups are being completed and managing proper access to the data itself. With backups, you are ensuring that your company is protected in case of hardware failure or attack. When you're managing the proper access, you are ensuring that specific users or groups only have the access they need. Along with this brings us to data lifecycle. So knowing where your data lives, how many copies of the databases are out there? Backups count in this case. Do you know where all your backups are? Are they in a secured location? Who has access to that location? And then how many copies of tables are out there? Do you have an analyst taking copies from the database and putting in Excel files, things like that? Are there flat files all over the place in your environment? Are they actually secured? Who could get into that data? Along with that, storage media exposure, who has access to where the database files live? Who has access to where the backup files live? Who has access to delete the data, databases, and their backups? And who has physical access to the storage? Can they walk into your data center, take out a drive, and put it somewhere else and recover from there? And then data placement. Are you placing internally used data near externally used data? Can they commingle? At this point, I would say it is accurate to state that DBAs ultimately are responsible for maintaining the 3 pillars of security: confidentiality, integrity, and availability across the entire data lifecycle, basically. But what about the access points you have no control over, like applications that generate and manipulate data you are protecting? That's where we take up the role of the trusted advisor. With application usage, some of the things you can use are what's called data masking. Sensitive data should be protected by row-level security, but also with masking. Maybe taking those credit card information, fudging them into different types, things like that. When data is at rest, should credit card numbers, social security numbers be stored in a clear text? Probably not. And that's something you have to talk with your application about, application users about. Try to get that, find that middle ground, as it were. Database injection, is your application using a service account that has elevated permissions? If it can do more than what it needs to do within the application, that's probably not great. So, is your application using procedures to access the database instead of, direct queries to the database? It's probably better to, use a stored proc, or sometimes other programs like ORMs and things like that only have specific access. So, usage outage is not in place. Can help, but this can help in forensics. If you don't have this set up, how do you know who's accessing your data and what they're doing with it? And then work with your auditing teams, embrace them out the gate and take careful consideration of their findings. So we are talking about internal audit or advisory teams here. It's best to work with internal teams first to prevent the pain down the road when you're using an external audit happens. Using this proactive approach helps remedy the issues before the external auditors get involved. So one question here, who should determine what data should be masked and or protected? So like I was kind of alluding to, that's kind of a conversation between the DBA and maybe the application owner, and also possibly your security teams. If the application owner says, I don't want anything, masked or encrypted, things like that, maybe bring along your security advisor and say, hey, we're having kind of a difficult conversation. Can you be that third person for me and maybe give me more information as far as that goes? And that probably would help in those kind of conversations where it's kind of hard to understand the differences. So moving on to the next section, we're talking about insurance policy. Now we have an idea of what needs to be done to limit our attack surface area. We can move on to steps we can take to ensure our downtime is limited in the event of a successful attack. So how do we hedge our bets in this case? An insurance policy at its most basic form is designed to protect us against certain risks. Proactive mitigation is equivalent to an insurance inspector reviewing your property and telling you, hey, I need to fix these pipes. Hey, there's something wrong with the electrical. Maybe fix that part. The fact of the matter is someone inevitably will get hurt on your property, and your insurance property covers you when somebody falls down the stairs or something that happened on your property, basically. So what is the critical type of insurance every company should carry? Most would say it's a backup strategy, but I would challenge that and say it's more of a recovery strategy. A better man than me basically told me one time, it's good to have backups, but it's better to know that you can actually restore from those backups. So human errors are unavoidable, like we covered before. So humans are involved. You cannot trust that the above is all done. You must have insurance policy, backups basically. So a recovery strategy is not a backup strategy. What are you trying to recover from? Think about those kinds of questions. That will tell how your backups, how to set up your backup environment, basically. The business always wants zero data loss. When they say this, research options how to do that with the cost. Then show them the bill. Basically, at that point, the business users will be like, oh, I can't afford that. And you're going to have a conversation of like, what can we logically actually get to? If that bill is affordable and they're okay with that, then great. You can proceed with the solution and implement it. If they balk at that point, if they can't afford it, what's acceptable to them? How long do we want to actually extend this out? Start building your recovery rules at that point, your RPOs and your RTOs. What happens to be done to hit a 15-minute RPO, in that case? These are questions you need to get them down on some kind of contract between you and your business owners. You have your recovery strategy in place at that point, and now you need to test it. Does it meet the business requirements? Are you actually getting it done within the time that you've stated within that contract? One and done is not good enough. The test strategy needs to be developed. Things happen from the first time you did your test until now. Have you written a corrupted byte, to that new restore? Has the size of the database or application changed, preventing you from hitting your RPO from being met? If so, what adjustments should you be making, basically? Can you pull the backup from the storage where the backup lives? This includes both hot storage and cold storage. Like if you've got these backups in AWS or something like that, how long does it take you to pull back from AWS first before you can start your restore? For BMR, there are lots of details to be overlooked. Testing this process can help flush those out, give you best information at that point. Is a sample tabletop exercise enough here? Full-blown recovery testing is a pretty big deal, is what you're probably saying at this point. This is good for thinking items that have been missed when creating a plan, but testing gives full insight as to other parts of the plan. So keep that in mind. So at this point, we're going to talk about how Rubrik does it for data security. So Rubrik for databases, we're going to consolidate all your databases onto one platform. We'll give you time back with automated discovery and protection built into the platform itself. And then we're going to deliver near zero RTOs while keeping your DBAs in full control of their backups. And then we'll support secondary users with self-service clones, where they can make live mounts, things like that, to where they can do their own kind of process as they need to. We're also designed for recovery we're enabled to do near zero RTOs without the need for added storage. We have flexible recovery options. And then we ensure backups are valid and recoverable. With the simplification and monetization of backup process through automation, I turn your attention to what's just as even more important, and that's recovery. Restoring databases can be a tedious task, finding those files that you need to recover, and then actually reassembling the fulls and incrementals and get them back to the actual copy that's useful. That's a lot of work, Depending on the use case and SLA, Rubrik provides the DBA with a variety of options to recover, like exported, instant recovery, recovery production, file-only restores, and a thing called live mount. More on live mount in the next slide, but imagine being able to resume operations nearly instantly and make hundreds of copies without consuming more storage. So we've covered quite a bit of material thus far. We know about steps we should take to prevent an attack and the resources we need to ensure recovery from an attack. Now let's talk about what we should do during an attack. So let's hope that the Borg doesn't hack your systems, but just in case, the fact of the matter is breaches will happen. The key is minimizing the impact of a breach is how you respond to it. So what should companies and their staff do when they discover an attack? First of all, take a deep breath, stay calm, and think before jumping into your action items. So some of the affected assets, you're going to ask, what do I have that's good? Analysis of the data, what is good and what isn't? What's the blast radius of my attack? What's affected by the worst happening, basically? Based on affected data, what is your recovery steps? Can I just recover the entire VM? Maybe the individual files, maybe the database, maybe just a table, maybe individual records, things like that. Recovery plan, make sure you have run books. Those run books will tell you, when everything's going haywire, that's when mistakes happen. If you have a run book, you can just follow step by step. That'll make it a lot easier for you. And what are your recovery times? Have you recorded those in your testing? Things like that. And then recovery isolation, recover data to non-production areas. Can we do that to validate that the data is good before putting it in production? This will help with forensics after the fact as well. So recovery tools, do you have backups to recover from? Stop operational tasks against the data. Don't back up the data until you confirm that the data is in a good state. And don't delete data no matter what you do. Make sure that data is ready to go first. Communication and documentation. Does everybody know the recovery options? Do you have CIO or CTO down to the help desk, understanding that we're going to do step 1, step 2, step 3? Those are things you have to all get together on the same page for. So this might sound very familiar to how an elite athlete trains, basically. Know what you need to do, work with your tools. Do you have practice again, basically, until it just becomes muscle memory. But what happens if there's something wrong with how you train? This is where a postmortem comes in. So this process helps us make your overall recovery strategy better in the future. So the main steps we're going to talk about is what happened, what proactive steps failed, what tools failed, what systems and procedures failed, and what worked well, what scales and automations did you have that were good to go, and what variants, from what happened and what your recovery plan was. You thought it was going to go this way, but maybe it went a little different way. Maybe we need to adjust our plan to make them a little bit better. What is the ROI on your plan versus what happened? Did your plan net the benefits you expected? And then what should be changed? Process, technology, or tools. The main thing I have to stress, though, is this postmortem is not a blame session. Blame session will do nothing to help you in this situation. You have to make sure that everybody is just there to get information. That's all you're trying to get. Excuse me. If you go around pointing fingers, you'll get less help the next time you come around. So, key takeaways here. We've covered a great deal of content in this section. Let's recap some of the key takeaways. Work with your organization's security team. And in order to prevent a breach, it isn't realistic to think you can stop every attack. It's just not going to happen. You need to ensure you protect your critical assets and have a mechanism to return them to service quickly. Excuse me. Panic under stress is your worst enemy. Have a plan. Having a plan isn't enough. You need to execute the plan regularly and revise it when you discover shortcomings. A comprehensive response plan ensures all participants know their role and what they need to do. Testing this plan in a controlled fashion enables everyone to understand what is expected of them. We spoke about some of the unique Rubrik features for database protection, but some of us as DBAs here are not salespeople. So here's an opportunity to review what Gartner has to say about Rubrik. Feel free to download a complimentary copy of the latest Gartner Magic Quadrant. Rubrik is proud to be ranked among the leaders again for the third year in a row. And this year, all the solutions, Rubrik ranked furthest to the right for the completeness of vision again. So some resources if you're interested, a little bit more detail. We have virtual demos all the time on our Rubrik website. I strongly recommend keeping an eye out for some of the virtual events we have, which can actually get hands-on with the product and see in action yourself. There's some additional materials on what to look for on modern data protection solutions for databases, as well as a link to a guide on how to recover from ransomware if you're interested. That's all I have to present today. Thank you very much for coming. Have a great day.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. Now, I did just see in the chat somebody was having a little trouble clicking on the link, so I've just gone back to that slide in Chris's presentation. If you didn't get the links, because I know that slide went by quickly, please do click on those now and save those for later. Awesome resources and a great follow-up. I am going to put up the poll question in just a moment as well. So real quick, if you're clicking on those links, do it now, run, open all of them, separate tabs, grab those links. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to move along to the poll here. So I put the poll up for you all, and what we're looking for is what additional information would you like to get about the Rubrik solution? What else are you looking to learn from Rubrik? So do take a moment now and let us know what additional information Rubrik can send your way as a follow-up. Now, I know there were a lot of questions coming in. You know, Chris and I made the call to have him run a bit longer because there was a lot of content to cover, which means that we don't really have time to stop for the Q&A in this session. So I am sorry about that, but hopefully you enjoyed the extra few minutes of content. And your questions are not going unheard because Chris is here. The Rubrik team will make sure that they get all of those questions and follow up with all of you. So you will get answers, you will get solutions back to any question asked. So please do keep those coming in. Make sure that you're getting those questions into the Rubrik team. While you're taking a moment to fill out that poll, I'm going to give away a prize because I know that you're waiting on that. So up next, let's go ahead and I'm going to say this reminder one more time. I'll say it every time. You do need to be here live with me at the MegaCast in order to qualify to win. And our next winner of a $500 Amazon gift card is Marlene Stumpf of Nebraska. Marlene Stumpf of Nebraska. Up next, we will be giving away an Apple iPhone 14 Pro. Man, I am nailing that now. Go, Jess. The bar is low for success for me today, guys. I don't know if you noticed that. We're going to give away an Apple iPhone 14 Pro. Is going to Matthew Partita of Texas. Matthew Partita of Texas. So congratulations to Marlene on your gift card and to Matthew on your iPhone 14 Pro. We'll get in touch with you both after we wrap the webinar today. Still more chances to win, plus that best question gift card. I'm going to remind you again that even if you ask a question that we don't get to live in a session, that doesn't mean you're not entered to win that best question card. So keep those in. Aw, thanks. Larry's giving me a high five. He tells me I've got it. Thanks, Larry. This cold is getting to me today, but thank you all for bearing with me through that. All right, well, speaking of bearing with me and and moving things along, we are already here at our last session of the day. I can't believe I'm saying that already. This MegaCast has just flown by. So much awesome content, and we are definitely bringing it home in style today. I am so happy to introduce you all to our next presenter, Carrie Kim, Principal Marketing Manager at OutSystems. Carrie, thank you so much for being here with us today on the MegaCast. I know you've got a lot of great info to dive into, and we're going to put some time aside for Q&A. So without any further ado, Carrie, I'm going to hand the mic right on over to you.
Thank you, Jess. So let's spend a few minutes talking about how you might more effectively streamline your business operations using intelligent automation solutions from OutSystems. My name is Carrie Kim, and I'm a product marketer here at OutSystems. OutSystems is the world's #1 low-code application development platform. We've helped thousands of companies rapidly build and deploy custom applications that support their business initiatives. And what we've seen and heard from our customers, customers that are streamlining their business operations, is that the more successful companies tend to follow a pattern or a common set of practices. What I'd like to do is spend a few minutes now sharing with you some of what we've seen and heard our more successful customers do. The COVID-19 public health crisis forced many companies to accelerate their digital transformations as their employees shifted to remote work and started using more digital services. Spending on digital technology increased during the pandemic, despite belt tightening elsewhere in the business. 2 years later, it continues to be a priority for most companies. In a 2022 EY Parthenon survey of 1,500 global CEOs, 72%, or nearly 3/4 of them, acknowledged that they must radically transform their operations during the next 2 years in order to compete more effectively in their industry, up from 62% in their 2020 report. Across all sectors, companies will need to focus on scaling technology solutions and realizing benefits as they step up their investments in high priority projects. Yet, in spite of their growing investment, digital transformation continues to be hard for most companies. According to data gathered from 70 clients and roughly 825 senior executives, BCG estimates that only 30% of transformations meet or exceed their target value or levels of return and result in sustainable change. 44% create some value, but don't meet their targets and see only limited long-term change. And the remaining 26% create limited value, meaning less than 50% of their target amount, and produce no sustainable change at all. Many digital transformation initiatives focus on operational improvements and automating internal business processes. These types of digital transformations can be challenging for many reasons. Some companies neglect to take into account how humans can and should augment process automation and not merely be replaced. By failing to recognize the essential role people still play in most digital services, companies don't invest in good interfaces between humans and systems, applications, and automated processes, resulting in continued inefficiencies. In some cases, not having the right data at the right time and at the right place results in excessive waiting times and suboptimal processes. This is especially true for business processes which span multiple departments and data silos. And finally, some companies fail to take into account that digital transformation is really an iterative process. It's not a once and done effort or thing. And many organizations don't have the right infrastructure or culture to support a continuous improvement process. Among our customers, we've found that the more successful ones take a stepwise approach to digital transformation, learning and gaining experience by crawling first, and then applying their lessons learned to walk, run, and then sprint. And this makes sense intuitively. First, they'll establish a good foundation by digitizing their assets and migrating their paper-based content. Not only are these electronic assets easier to use, manage, and manipulate with digital tools and processes, they help facilitate asset integrity and version control. Next, they'll start automating some of their manual tasks and workflows for greater productivity. In fact, they'll automate anything that can be automated, prioritizing those things that are highly repetitious or manually intensive. And the initial returns or gains from doing this help justify continued investment. Next, they'll look at re-engineering and optimizing their core functional or their cross-functional and core business processes to drive even greater operational efficiency. For example, it doesn't make sense to simply automate an inherently bad or inefficient process. All you're doing in this case is replacing lots of human effort with lots of machine effort. It's much better to redesign your process so that it's more efficient and you've removed your bottlenecks, and then you automate that process instead. And then lastly, they'll look at the other side of the profit equation and look at new digital services and business models, ways to drive additional revenues instead of just focusing on cutting costs. Successful companies also use technology stacks that support this stepwise approach. It's not just about automating business processes, but about doing them in smarter or more intelligent ways. It's about using the right combination of tools. Tools like process mining for understanding all of the processes in your enterprise that are actually running and how much resources are being consumed by these processes. It's using tools like robotic process automation for creating digital workers or software bots that can replicate or mimic human actions and do them with greater scale, quality, and efficiency. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, optical character recognition, advanced technologies for augmenting human intelligence and decisioning. And most important, low-code platforms for integrating all of these intelligent tools into custom applications for managing and optimizing internal business operations. The right set of technologies can help you, and more intelligent automation can help you accelerate your digital transformation. We believe that OutSystems is one of the best low-code platforms for intelligently automating your core business processes and suitable wherever you are in your digital transformation journey. OutSystems is a good solution for digitizing forms, but it's also good for creating highly versatile systems of engagement with its multi-experience development capabilities. You can also use it to build custom applications that integrate your existing RPA, process mining, and machine learning implementations. The reason why it's such a good low-code platform for intelligent automation is that it directly addresses the main challenges enterprises face when trying to drive additional value from digital transformation. Recall that the first challenge was better connecting your customers and employees to your digital services and processes. OutSystems comes with over 100 UX UI templates, design kits, and patterns, all of the things needed to build best-in-class human-to-computer interfaces. The second challenge was lack of access to critical systems and data. OutSystems includes over 400 pre-built connectors to major third-party databases and systems of record so that you can more easily get the right data to the right place at the right time. The final challenge was needing to take an iterative approach. The OutSystems platform supports agile development and deployment processes, providing the infrastructure needed to rapidly update and continuously improve your automated processes. OutSystems is a high-performance, low-code platform that also helps you deal with your most pressing internal challenges. For your business to compete more effectively, you really need custom applications that leverage your unique strengths, your strategies, your resources, and your capabilities, not the same SaaS solutions that everyone else has. But developing these custom apps can be complex. OutSystems helps reduce this complexity with its visual, AI-assisted development tools. OutSystems unites design, code, and deployment into a single system that dramatically simplifies and accelerates the process of creating business-critical software. Application complexity has other negative effects. With complex applications built upon complex technologies, organizations can struggle to acquire and retain the developer and IT resources they need, the people and skill sets. Are you having a hard time hiring the developers you need? Not only does OutSystems let you do more with less, it also lets you do more with the people you have. The platform enables your generalists to function as specialists. By enabling software reusability and knowledge transfer, you're less dependent on specific individuals for specific tasks and projects. And ultimately, enabling greater developer productivity will help reduce your application backlog. As the immediate needs of your business stakeholders are increasingly being met on a more timely basis, your team will be able to prioritize their efforts on the more strategic projects that unlock innovation and generate new revenue streams. To help better illustrate some of these ideas and concepts and wrap up our session, I'd like to share with you a few examples. One company that is using OutSystems to streamline their business processes more intelligently is Crown Agents Bank. Crown Agents Bank is a UK-based provider of wholesale foreign exchange, international payments, cash management, pensions, trade finance, and investment management services to governments, development organizations, and regulated financial services businesses. In order to enable their business for more scalable future growth, Crown Agents Bank began digitizing their data, automating some of their business processes, and orchestrating their case management. Using OutSystems, they developed a new operations portal to coordinate and manage 20 different workflows and RPA automations, including actions and approvals. Since implementing this new operations portal, Crown Agents Bank has been able to improve their operational efficiency by automating repetitive tasks. They've improved customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction through the introduction of self-service tools. And they've reduced risk by codifying their approval processes and reducing revenue leakage through automated invoicing. Another company that's using OutSystems to more intelligently automate their business processes is Tizers. Tizers is a 200-year-old insurance broker based in London that provides a wide range of insurance and risk management products spanning wholesale, corporate, commercial, entertainment, and sports markets. T-Connect is a new cross-functional cloud-based platform built with OutSystems designed to consolidate processes and automate the end-to-end life cycle of their insurance policies. RPA is used to send and receive data from legacy systems that lack APIs. These automations are then integrated into this automated insurance policy lifecycle management platform, which not only orchestrates claims workflows, but also enables human risk data inputs. Operational efficiency is improved through automated sanctions checking, automated task and query management workflows, contract certainty checks, and centralized governance. The result is a system that has been saving Tizers over 400 hours per week, while also providing their clients with more efficient, accurate, and faster service by seamlessly linking back office and front office functions. For example, query response times have dropped on average 60% from 15 days to 6 days. Those are just some examples of companies that are leveraging intelligent automation from OutSystems to successfully streamline their business operations. You can find more information about them and other customers at www.outsystems.com. If you'd like to try using the solution for yourself, a free trial version is also available on our website. And if you'd like personalized help or assistance, we can connect you with expert resources that can help you. In closing, we believe that OutSystems is a compelling offering and that we may be able to help you more intelligently automate and streamline your business operations. It may also be able to help re-energize your digital transformation and drive greater productivity and operational efficiency. We hope that you'll take us up on our offer and get started using our solution soon. So that's it for me, Jess. Are there any questions that participants have raised during the session?
Yeah, absolutely. Carrie, thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation, a great end to our MegaCast today. We appreciate you being here to be our grand finale in what has been a great day. We do have some wonderful questions coming in that I want to dive into. Carrie, you ready to jump in?
I am.
Perfect. I want to start with this one because, this comes up a lot, especially with teams that maybe don't have a lot of resources for training. So a two-part question. How long does it take the average developer to get fully ramped using OutSystems? And follow up to that, what training resources are available for them?
That's a good question. So how long does it take the average developer to get ramped up using OutSystems?
Yeah.
Well, the short answer is that it depends.
Sure.
But the slightly longer answer is that it depends on the current breadth and depth, but mostly depth of your development staff. What we've seen is that it can take anywhere from a few days to a few weeks for developers to get up to speed and productive on our platform. For staff already familiar with other development tools and software design principles, it takes about a week to get familiar with our IDE, our libraries, our patterns and templates. I guess the short answer is it kind of depends, but for most organizations, we see it taking about a week. What was the second part of the question again?
What are the training resources that are available for these teams?
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, we actually have a wide range of training resources available, all the way from from self-service documentation, modules and courses, all the way to kind of more structured fee-based classroom training. One of our more popular training offerings are these things called guided paths, which summarize for experienced developers how to build responsive web apps and mobile apps using OutSystems. More information about all of these training offerings is available at outsystems.com/training.
I really like that you have a variety, so there's sort of options for however people learn. Okay, jumping into our next question here. What RPA solutions is OutSystems compatible with?
Oh yeah, great question. OutSystems is compatible with a wide range of RPA tools, including those from UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, etc. We're compatible with most RPA tools as long as they have those standard APIs that can be used for communication. If customers haven't implemented RPA yet, however, we do recommend using UiPath. Earlier this year, our two companies, OutSystems and UiPath, entered into a strategic partnership to deliver intelligent automation solutions to our joint customers. Our intention is to provide them best-of-breed technologies and technical integrations to give joint customers maximum choice, convenience, and flexibility without the added risk of vendor lock-in. Where we see good synergies between UiPath, RPA, and OutSystems low-code are for those use cases that involve integration with legacy systems, human-in-the-loop automations, RPA orchestration, and test automation. RPA is a really good solution for receiving and sending data from legacy systems that lack APIs. As these software bots can easily be programmed to manage or to mimic the actions humans might take, such as like logging into systems and retrieving specific values. OutSystems is a really good solution for adding highly intuitive user interfaces to those automations that require human input or human intervention. It's also a good tool for orchestrating many different automations into a more holistic end-to-end process. And then, UiPath in conjunction with OutSystems is a great tool or solution to unify kind of RPA and application testing, within your enterprise. More information about the partnership and these use cases can be found on both outsystems.com and uipath.com.
Love that. Okay, we are very close to running out of time here, but I'm going to sneak in this one last question because I think it's a great one. So if you can give us kind of a quick answer to this one. If we're starting from square one, what area of the business would you recommend focusing on to automate first? And the kind of second part of this is, where can you make the biggest impact with a low-code platform?
If you were starting from square one, where would you focus first?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good question. And it's kind of hard to say specifically because I think the answer to that will not be determined or gated by the low-code platform's capabilities. What I mean by that is it's not what our platform can do well or not do well that matters more, but what matters more will most likely be the characteristics of your business, such as where are you spending a lot of time and effort on repetitive, manually intensive tasks? Where do you use a lot of paper and paper-based forms? One area we touched on but didn't really explore in depth was sort of the human aspect. Anytime you streamline business operations, there's change involved. And this change management, especially with respect to people and employees, is something you'll definitely need to consider. In many ways, identifying those areas where your people are more receptive to change might actually be the most important factor in deciding or determining which areas of the business to automate first.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And we talk about that a lot, the human element in general. And I think change management really in particular is so important to consider in the early phases. So for anyone out there that's in those early phases of planning, now's the time to be considering that, and not once you've launched and now you're trying to backtrack. Carrie, thank you so much. This has been such a fascinating conversation. As I said, a really wonderful way to wrap up the MegaCast today. So we really appreciate you being here. Before you take off, if somebody's really excited to jump in with OutSystems, what's their first step? What do they do?
Yeah, I think the best place to go to is our website. There they'll find more information about the solutions that we have available, as well as our platform capabilities. And as I mentioned before, if folks want to get started actually trying it out for themselves, there's a free trial that's available that they can sign up for. So I think that would be the best call to action that I would recommend.
That's perfect. Yeah, no better way to really get to know a solution and a tool than to dive in and start seeing how it works for you. So I love that. Carrie, again, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you very much, Jess.
All right, and we have put that poll up for you one last time. So we want to know what additional information you would like to get about the OutSystems solution. So we just got some really important information from Carrie, touched on a lot in a short period of time, got through some great questions, and there's a lot more information to learn. So what else do you want to know from OutSystems? How can they support you in wherever you're at in this exploration and research phase and planning phase? And Carrie just gave us some great tips right at the end there about some change management things, and I think that is really important. So for those of you that are in these early phases, thinking way far ahead, now's the time to be doing this research and thinking about how you're going to roll these out. And so the more information, the better, right? So click on the poll, let them know what they can send your way, and they'll get that on over to you. Well, I think, folks, oh no, shoot, I was about to leave without reminding you about the handout. Head on over to that Handouts tab, and make sure that you snag from OutSystems here, the Intelligent Automation, Humanizing Artificial Intelligence for Better Process Automation. This is a very cool read. For anyone out there that's really interested in automations and AI, there is some great information in that handout. So if you haven't already done so, head on over to the Handouts tab, click on that OutSystems link, and make sure that you get that resources. And while you're checking that out, hang tight because I'm going to turn my camera back on.
All right, what an exciting day. Definitely a lot of awesome presentations, and the fun is not over yet because as you can see from our screen here, we have a couple more prize giveaways. So we're going to do a $500 Amazon gift card and then 2 Apple iPhone 14 Pros. So good way to wrap up the day here today. I'm going to remind you all that you do need to be present here live at the MegaCast in order to qualify to win. Our final lucky winner of a $500 Amazon gift card today is Philip Asta of Ohio. Philip Asta of Ohio, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. And our last 2 winners of an Apple iPhone 14 Pro are going to be Greg McGrady of North Carolina and Jeffrey Lee of Georgia. That's Greg McGrady of North Carolina and Jeffrey Lee of Georgia. So congratulations to Philip on your gift card and to Greg and Jeffrey on their new iPhone 14 Pros. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prizes after we wrap. Now, I did promise a full recap of our webinar, or our winners of webinars. Yeah, I'm just going to recap the whole webinar for you all. You'll stick around for that, right? No, let's just focus on our winners for right now. So a full recap of our winners list here, starting with Corey Hopwood, who won a gift card. That's Corey Hopwood of Tennessee. Then an iPhone going to Segi Yokota of Pennsylvania. A gift card going to Andrew Henricks of California, and an iPhone going to Phil Blake of Texas. A gift card going to Marlene Stumpf of Nebraska, and an iPhone going to Matthew Partita of Texas. And then a gift card going to Philip Asta of Ohio, and an iPhone going to Greg McGrady of North Carolina and to Jeffrey Lee of Georgia. So congrats to all our winners out there with us today. Always an exciting way to wrap up a webinar. And I do want to remind you all that we're going to review all the questions that were asked after we wrap. And there is still a chance to win that best question asked from each of our sessions today. The competition was fierce, some great questions coming in. So if you did submit a question, hang tight because you may be hearing from us about that $50 Amazon gift card. Now, before you head out, I do want to make sure that you all check out the Actual Tech Media ransomware guide. It's linked in the handouts tab for you, and you're going to find everything that you need to know about ransomware, how to understand, how to prevent, how to recover. Visit ransomware.org for more information about that. Now, if you are on the webinar today and you're thinking, man, this seems like a lot of fun, I'd like to hang out, I'd like to talk to Jess, get to know David and Scott a little bit, that sounds great. We would absolutely love that. So if you're interested in chatting with us about presenting on a future summit, an EcoCast, a MegaCast, any kind of webinar, we would love to hear from you. So shoot us a message at connect@actualtechmedia.com and let's get that conversation started. Okay, well, with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I really want to thank all of our speakers from Better Cloud, from Gigamon, Rubrik, and OutSystems for making this MegaCast possible. And a very special thank you, and I really mean this, to all of you for attending and asking some great questions. I had so much fun with you all today. I hope that you've learned some interesting, helpful tips and feel ready to start tackling those small tweaks or giant overhauls that you need to enhance your organization's cloud IT and really supercharge those business operations. Now, before you take off today, be sure to mark your calendar and come back and join us again on Thursday, November 3rd. That's this Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific for a chat about preventing phishing attacks. I'm so excited about this one. It's going to be so interesting. So make sure that you book your calendars now. Come back and join me again on Thursday. We're going to have a great conversation. I can't wait to dig into it. So I hope to see you all there. And until then, I hope you have an absolutely beautiful rest of your day.